Hello. Justin Bjur. How's it going?
Good.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the I Feel You podcast. How you feeling?
I feel great, man. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. It's my pleasure. You were on a very short list of people that we wanted to have on this show, so it's honestly an honor. Thank you for having us here in your space and allowing us to do this with you, first and foremost. And just to introduce you guys to who this is Justin Bjur, originally from Portland, Oregon, has always considered himself on the edge of innovation. Justin spent 4 months abroad traveling with recording gear in Turkey and Eastern Europe, capturing sound recordings and working with local musicians. This experience deeply informed his process as an artist/producer, which led him to work with musicians, notably Adam Knight, shout out to Adam Knight, in the Bay Area and release an underground hit, I've Got the Gold. And this song went on to be remixed by Shobi. Is that Shobi?
Yeah, Shobi.
Shobi. And gained 30+ million plays on streaming platforms, which is incredible. It's an incredible achievement. Currently, Justin is working on another record while building a label/brand that will be focused on the Web3 space and creating music NFTs. Anything I missed there? Is that a good?
Yeah, I mean, just Honor Scouts, I guess, which is my current band. But yeah, that's pretty much
Honor
sums
Scouts,
it up.
you guys did magical. Oh my God, the realism remixes.
We did an album called Magical Realism,
and then
we dropped a remix record. Did you listen to that remix record?
I listened to a few songs. I'm not gonna lie and say I listened to the whole thing, but I listened to a few songs.
Yeah.
And I'm making my way through it now. It's been great so far. And that's Honor Scouts, you said, and that was released in 2021, right?
The remix was released in 2021.
Nice.
Geez, did we release the album in 2020?
Feels like forever ago now, right?
Yeah, we did. It was like November 2020 because 2021 I executive produced Adam's first album.
Nice.
And so we were kind of focused on that year. Okay. And we had the remix album come out all of 2021. Exciting. So we had releases all of 2021, but they were remixes. Cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll have that link in the bio so you guys can check out that album. So just to go back a little bit around that era, recently you came to New York. You made the trip out here to pursue a certain venture. I guess tell me about why you came to New York and like how's it been since you got in here?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting. I came out to New York sort of by a unique opportunity. So I thought I was going to be I was planning on moving to Barcelona. So I was in San Diego. Okay. I was like finishing this record. So I moved back to Portland, finishing up the album, and then was thinking I was going to go to Barcelona. And then COVID kind of had all those really intense restrictions in the end of 2020. True. And so I was like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, it'll be like settled by then and it'll be no problem. It wasn't the case.
Here we are now.
And so, so anywho, I was like in Portland, finished the album. So I was sort of like figuring out my next steps. And so I did that album with Adam and we were shooting music videos. We did a series of them. And one of them happened to be in Austin, Texas at Adrian Guignier's house, which he owns this house, context. And so I just, went out there with the team. We shot the music video. We hit it off. He told me about his space here in Brooklyn. And it was a very compelling thing. Yeah. So I was like, cool, I'm going to fly out to New York and check it out. And so I did. Came out here in end of April, early May. Recorded a bunch of music with Adam and another buddy. They left. I stayed for another week and was like, yeah, I'm going to rent this place. And like, obviously that was like a crazy idea because it's like, it was a big change for me, like from a financial perspective, as well as just like location. You
had clear intentions of going somewhere else, and like now you're here and you're like, okay, am I going to commit to this basically?
Yeah, bro. I thought I was going to be living in Barcelona in a cheap apartment surfing. And now I'm like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. And now we're here. That's awesome. Just so you guys know, this place is Safe and Sound Studios. This is where I came and met Justin for the first time. And it's a beautiful space. You guys do showcases here.
Were you at the first mixer?
I was at a mixer, yeah. I don't know if it was the first one.
What month?
It was the mixer with Yanks, where Yanks performed.
Yeah, that was the first one, I think.
Was that really the first one?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I thought that was like it felt like
I mean,
the second or
technically it was the second.
Okay.
But because we threw a mixer before I moved out here.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But I think the first one was in August.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It doesn't even feel like that long ago, but I guess it was, yeah.
Yanks, dude. That was he's on your
Yanks.
podcast.
Yeah, he was
I met Yanks that night too.
Really?
That was such a great night.
He's great, man. His recent single and his 3-track EP with the music video is incredible.
He's
a killer, man.
I'm very excited to see the stuff he's putting out. Yeah.
Shout out to Yanks. But yeah, this is a beautiful space. They have a studio downstairs that's, I guess, still available for renting, right? If somebody wants to rent out the studio.
Right now, today, actually, the sound engineer might walk in while we're recording this podcast. We're doing a voiceover for, God, I wish I could remember the name. There's this theater. Actually, it'd be really cool if we all like got a crew together, because apparently I haven't fully checked it out, but there's a theater in Williamsburg, and it's an audio immersive experience.
Oh my gosh, what?
Yeah, and so I'll get the name.
That sounds incredible.
Maybe we could throw it in the bio or something.
I'm so down. Yeah, let's do it, and then let's actually go. That'd be so sick.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but
me
it sounds
neither.
incredible.
But they're recording the voiceovers here.
Let's go. You can be like, yeah, this is it. This is in the space. That's sick. That'll be definitely a full circle moment. So how's it been since you've been here? Have you like experienced anything interesting? Like, has it changed you at all, or like
New York?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, man. I mean, New York is it's awesome. I love it here, man.
Mm-hmm.
People, it's like I was having a conversation yesterday, and it's kind of funny, but like, walking in Portland, if I see someone, it's like generally, because I go on walks all the time. I love walks, and if you see someone, you're like, it's almost like you're going to acknowledge at least 10 people's existence, and they're going to acknowledge you. But like on average here, it's like maybe 1 or 2.
Maybe.
So
that's
not that I love that, but it is the different things where you're like more in your people, like kind of understand that
zone.
Like people are close here, but they're still like
super awkwardly close, but like then it's like you don't exist to other people. It's kind of wild. It's weird to see that. And it's nice sometimes when you're out and you don't want anybody to bother you. Like you have that freedom, but sometimes you want people to bother you.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of fiending for that connection, which I think you can find if you try hard enough, for sure too.
I'm curious when I go back if like I'll like it. Like I'll be like feel refreshed, because I kind of remember that when I lived in Southern California. It's kind of similar, because it's just, I think once you get a scale of people, like the care for an individual diminishes a little bit. And I remember going back to Oregon for the first time in like a year, and I was just like, these people are like saying what up and smiling at me.
What's up, dude? How you doing? How's your day? No, you can walk up to anybody in New York and you're like, hey, what's up? They're gonna look at you so sideways.
Yeah, like you say thank you at a grocery, like, and it's like they're like it's my job.
I'm not here for you. That's true. No, I feel like in my experience, I've been here for a few years now, and New York just completely shifts you as an individual. And I think that I've seen it happen to some of my friends. Like if you're in the wrong space mentally, this place can really mess you up. Like you can, it's not easy to live here. You have to be prepared for like a lot of challenges, and one of them is being incredibly lonely at times. Like I feel like that's what I've experienced. But I think if you're strong enough and you can power through that, it's so worth it at the end of the day, because you learn so much about yourself. And I'm sure in the short time that you've been here, you've learned a lot. I'm sure it's been a wild experience.
Definitely.
What do you work on in this space? Like what's the some of the big things that you do here? Yes.
Yeah. So, we have our events. So we have the showcase, which we were doing once a month, and the mixers as well. So those were monthly. So we had 2 events. Yeah. We're scaling that back.
Okay.
So those are great, because those are like community offerings. Like the showcases, there's like a ticket on that, but the mixers are just kind of like trying to just get anybody that's interested in the entertainment industry as a whole to come through. And like first and foremost, I think like the goal is to just have it be a fun party. But with a group of people that are all striving for similar goals, rather than like a purely specific networking event. Yeah. Like I didn't want that sort of energy necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. And you felt that when I came to the two that I came to, it felt like a bunch of friends just getting together, having a good time, watching somebody perform, and then like just talking, like having a good time. Like it was like, hey, how are you? Like, we're out here dancing, or we're in the back and we're doing our thing. It's like, it's so easy to talk to people, I feel like. Yeah. So
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, you definitely set those intentions up and like successfully, you followed through with those. So
Amazing.
On that.
Yeah, and we're it's a constant development. So we're trying to figure out how to make it more compelling, more interesting, as well as create more of a community. Because I think fundamentally, like that's what I'm striving to create with this space. Like if you look at the Safe and Sounds bio, it says it's like a incubator for musicians or a community space, and there's ways in which that I feel like we're delivering really well on that, and then there's other ways that we're growing into that. So we're figuring it out. But yeah, so there's those, and then obviously the studio is just my personal studio for the most part. So I work with several clients as a producer, or effectively like artist development. So sometimes it's production, sometimes it's songwriting, sometimes it's literally like marketing and branding. Some things I'm really good at, and other things I'm okay at.
But getting better. Growing into those things.
So there's that. We obviously rent the studio out here and there. And then my main focus, like the big goal of the whole space, is so we launched our brand called Rec Room, which is sort of was built off the back of actually what Adrian started. So he started a label back in 2010 called Rec Room, and
I didn't know that. Okay, awesome.
And so that label, he developed artists. He was like exploring the music industry, and basically had a big sort of cataclysmic shift in his life. And I won't speak too much about him, but that project sort of stopped. And when I took this place over, we were working to get the YouTube channel that he started to start distributing the content that we record at the showcases, as well as just different media things that we had been building, that I had personally been building for even before I moved out here. And so we took that over, and then it was like I just had this sort of like epiphany moment. I was like, Rec Room is like this really cool, because like it was originally thought of as this space was like the Rec Room.
This is
and then this became Safe and Sounds, which is a whole other conversation. But like, I was like, I love the idea of Rec Room as this like sort of almost like the clubhouse in the metaverse. Right. So it's like the Rec Room. It's like where you go and you just do fun stuff, And so that was sort of how I wanted to rebrand it. So it's like music, culture, and Web3, or just essentially like technology. Right.
For sure.
And so been working on mostly within that realm. Obviously all the Safe and Sound stuff like feeds into that on some level.
Of course.
But like, so Rec Room is sort of the brand that we're relaunching. And with that, we've launched, we haven't launched it yet, but we're pretty much finishing up some artwork for our first NFT collection.
Nice. Oh yeah. So we talked about this briefly. Yeah. That's very exciting. It sounds like a very exciting venture. I'm sure it's been super challenging as well, because I don't know much about that world yet, Web3, NFT, and all that kind of stuff.
No one does, bro.
It's still such a new space, and I guess just in the most layman terms possible. I guess kind of explain Rec Room in a way. Like if you had to teach a kid, what would be like Rec Room? How would you tell them? Well, I mean, not a kid nowadays, because kids probably already know because they're smart as hell. But like, I guess the adult children.
Yeah. Okay. You're putting me on the spot here.
Yeah. I want to hear what you got.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy because this is like,
because it's still formalizing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think the initial concept that I set out to do was to create a space online to share. It's similar to Project Feel, honestly. It's not too far off, I think, and that's why it's cool that we can. I look forward to future collaborations down the line, because I actually think if we like dove into that, we'd see like a lot of overlaps, which could be fun. But yeah, essentially it's like a place online for us to, focus on music as well as technology, and technology just being whatever is the exciting innovation.
For sure.
Because being as a musician, that buttons that up, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's what it's kind of for the spaces, the intention for the space is that, right?
Yes. Okay. Being a musician, you may or may not feel this way, but I feel very strongly that being an artist in the modern world, you learn, like, you have to be good at all these things in order to be successful.
Yes.
Or organize a really effective team.
The idea of the independent artist is kind of
Yeah, it's your marketing music has pushed a lot of innovation throughout modern history.
For sure.
Just because of what music plays culturally, like the role that it holds. And so naturally, being an artist, a lot of artists gravitate towards that innovative space.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. And I guess so like if I were like, when you launch this thing, say like I'm interested, like I want to be a part of this, how are people going to be involved directly? Like in what way? Like, am I going to go onto like a web browser and be in a space with other people where I'm chatting and like social media kind of vibes, or is it like something completely different?
You know, it's an interesting, there's not an easy answer. Like, so we just started a Discord. Nice. And I'm not like personally super familiar with Discord. So we're trying to figure out Discord. How to take like the community that we've built IRL, which is like a pretty awesome one.
It's a big one.
And take them as well as like be able to, you know, amass an audience that can be anywhere in the world. Yeah. And so right now it's, you know, like we have Discord. I'm playing around with some other apps. But like also this whole sphere is evolving and changing so rapidly that there are probably spaces that will exist on that haven't yet been formalized.
For sure.
That are going to be perfect for what we're building.
Exactly.
And at the moment we're building a Discord.
Yeah. Somebody's going to come out with like the thing where it's like, hey, I know you guys like this isn't doing enough for you with what you want to do. This is the place where it's going to be, you know, and it might happen tomorrow, but it also might happen. And we don't even know when it's going to happen. That's how fresh it is. But I love Discord. If you're watching this and you're not on Discord yet, the application, even if you're not going to join a community, download the app and find a community, because Discord is going to be super essential. I think it has been for a while for a lot of more niche communities, specifically gaming, streaming.
Right, because you're a gamer, so
yeah, I'm on a few Discords, and
bro, you got to jump in the rec room. I'd love to get your feedback. I would love to. Come hang out and be part of it.
I'm in a few that are really well done, and I'm in a few fresh ones as well. I had a friend, a poet, who was also on this show, who just made a Discord. And it was really great. At first, there was a lot of people joining in, talking about NFTs, but also talking about their own personal art, how to develop yourself in New York. People saying like, hey, I want to drop everything to come to New York and be an artist. What do I need to do? It's resources based. So it's pretty cool. And it's difficult to kind of like build that up and have it stay strong right now, because you need really good moderators, and then you need a community that's really invested in that Discord to like keep it flowing. And I feel like not enough people know about it yet, specifically artists. They don't know about Discord. And I think it's so much better than just communicating on Instagram, because that's the main one right now, and it's not enough. It's not good enough, in my opinion. So
it's less community and more
marketing and branding, and like
there's a celebrity sort of aspect to it, where you're like all your own
superficial kind of like I guess we don't have to stick on this too long, but like Instagram specifically, and I just want to talk about social media because, you know, the web space is like the internet is evolving as we speak, but Instagram feels so like superficial, and it's getting more and more like that every day. In the sense that I'm seeing posts where if I post about Project Feel my story, I'll get like 70 views, 70, 80. It's like if I'm reposting, or if I'm like sharing something like, hey, the podcast is out, I post a selfie of my face and just my face, and I'm getting like 300-400 views. I'm like, every time it's consistent. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the timing or something, but it feels like it isn't, because we have a team, we have people that are like, okay, this is the best time to post, the best time to reshare, this is the best time to do all this stuff. And even we're doing the best things, and our posts are getting tanked, and nobody sees them.
Yeah, I mean, I have a thought process around this.
Yeah, please, I would love to hear your thought. Please.
And this is something that I struggle with as well, because there's like this balance of, you know, personal identity, personal brand, and then brand.
Yes.
And a lot of people, for better or for worse, I mean, we're just humans, right? We connect with humans fundamentally, and so like, I would prefer to not have a personal brand and just have a brand, just because I don't want to have to be so front facing.
Yeah,
but at the same time, by developing a personal brand and being like, these are the things that I stand for, laying that stake in the ground, people then look at that and they see over time, if you continually do that and you build trust, like over time, you know, then you become an authority. Yeah. And then all of a sudden your brand becomes more powerful because of
Your
you as an
personal
individual.
brand.
Yeah. And so I think people just naturally like, right. If we had, I don't know, like if Drake decided to start a Discord, right?
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be very hard for him to have a million people hanging out in his Discord.
That app would get so many downloads that same day. Yeah.
But like, yeah. So the personal brand is always going to be the most powerful, but it's the most challenging. And I think you have to really be okay with not being so private, maybe.
True. I feel like it starts that way too. Like you have to be super, I feel like at this point, you know, someone like Drake, I feel like he's been afforded that separation now. So like Drake is the brand now. It's not him, or it is him, but it's like not fully him. So he has the brand now, and then he has, of course, his personal life he can afford to have it completely separate from, and like he has this massive team that basically is Drake, right? But at first, like when he was coming up and when artists do come up, it's always super, super personal. And I think that's really
because that's the easiest way to connect, right?
Exactly. Super intriguing. Like somebody like Coda the Friend, who's a New York artist.
Rapper. Great rapper.
Very personal.
He's a New York guy.
Yeah, he's super personal. And like most of his like audience knows him on a personal level because like that's what he does is like he will put his whole self out there. And he
even brands himself that way, Coda the Friend.
Exactly. He's very upfront about all of that. And
Love
like
it.
you kind of know his life at this point. Like it's all been but that comes with a lot of costs. But now I feel like if you can continue that trend, which takes a long time, like you have to do it for a long time for you to be like, okay, now Coda the Friend is this and I'm now this, and I can like be my own person in my personal life and not have to have that so forward facing. Because it is like after a while it is kind of, I feel like it is taxing.
Oh, sure.
Like, right?
Yeah, there was a thought I had a while ago, and it's kind of on this point, and it was like basically like I'd realize it was like, and this is true always, but it's very like hyper true with celebrities, is that you don't exist as yourself. You exist as others perceive you, you know, and like that's always true. Like I see you and I, you know, make up a story of who you are that's not you, but like a celebrity, it's like hyper. It's like people go up to Mark Wahlberg and they'll be like, I know you, and it's like, no, you don't.
And it's the same. Yeah, it's the same idea, but it's almost more personal to some people. Like, have you heard of the term parasocial relationship?
No.
Parasocial is that idea where there are fans who
got this little angle right here. Okay, we're good.
There are fans of artists who develop parasocial relationships, and where that person feels like they know that artist or celebrity so deeply to the core of who they are, but that celebrity or artist has no idea who that person is. Right. So it's parasocial. It's a one-way relationship, but it feels reciprocal because
they're communicating through their music or whatever.
You're in a streamer's chat and they're responding to you sometimes, you know, but they don't know who you are at all, but you know everything about this person. Sure. You send out fan mail, what it used to be. You would send fan mail, then sometimes they would write back, but realistically it was probably a team that was like writing back cards for whoever this artist was. Sometimes it was actually the person.
You know what song comes to mind?
Yeah,
do you know which one?
Song comes to mind.
You know which one?
Eminem is Stan.
That's right, bro.
Stan, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, that song that's exactly what that is. It's like that is the best description of a very toxic parasocial relationship. And I think that plagues a lot of our younger
even not famous people.
Yeah.
Just people on Instagram. Sure. Again, I'm not anti-social media or any of that. Like, I'm really not.
It's complicated.
Like,
it's more complicated than just being like, nah, fuck social media.
These technologies just expose human and all their beauty and all their darkness.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so easy. It goes to show that, like, it really is about how easy it is to make a connection with an individual, even if they're not giving you that, or if they're giving you that, but in a very open way. It's a beautiful thing in some ways. Like, you know, they really do sometimes fall in love with the people that they're watching because of how open we are and how the internet shows everything now.
Right.
So yeah, I understand the idea. Like, I don't want to be personal, but like I feel like
it's a weird thing. I haven't decided where I land with it. I think it's just like, for me, I'm just realizing, you know, which is always how I've been, but like, how do if I need to build a personal brand, I have to kick it up a notch and curate it a little more, but I still think it's still the same, which is just be authentic. Like, really don't try to like, I mean, there's a framing maybe that helps, but I think you still just be genuine, because at the end of the day, those are the people I want to be close with.
Yeah.
You know,
genuine people. That's beautiful. So with the rec room and everything that's going on there, you said that, you know, part of it's going to be technology and like advancement technology, that conversation, and then there's music as well. And we talk about like music NFTs, right? Yeah. When you think about music NFTs, because I'm sure a bunch of people hear that and think completely different things. What is your right now, like what does a music NFT mean to you?
Oh man, so like, I don't even know where to start with this, really. I will just say this, like the where we're at with the utility of what NFTs provide is very primitive in comparison to where we'll be at in 6 months, a year, 2 years, etc.
It's very rapidly growing too.
Yeah. So we're attempting to, you know, we're trying to build a system that in the best way we understand with the technology that we have, because we're not coding a lot of this technology. So when the technology comes that's more efficient, more useful to create these, you know, verticals for like artists to have their own lane of commerce or just relationship in general, you know, the goal is to adopt whatever's going to be the most efficient and effective. Okay. But as that stands right now, like what we're designing out is a full, like, so the NFT collection that we've designed is going to be working. It acts on some level as a music community, right? So you own the NFT, and then you have, like, for example, we haven't fully decided, but like could be like all the showcases you get in for free, right? Or it's half
and
off.
You kind of show the NFT, or you show whatever code that it is, and then you just
exactly. So anything that Rec Room and Safe and Sounds is building here or in Portland, because we have a team there.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Yeah. There's gonna be IRL experiences, but then that also will have additional value for people on the internet, right? Yeah. So for like our live streams, right? So there's this whole thing we're building out there. Yeah. And so having that NFT collection will connect you to the music cultural stuff we're doing. Yeah. But then also we're developing an NFT artist. Okay. Okay. And that's where it gets really interesting.
Yes.
And I'm sure we're not the only to, like, I think Bored Ape has like a Bored Ape band. I don't know how that's functioning, but you know, this is what a lot of people that are in this space, I'm sure, are trying to figure out creative ways to do this. And so we're building that, which is super exciting. And the cool thing is if you're a part of the music community, i.e. you have an NFT from the collection we've designed, then you can reap the rewards from the music NFT, which is essentially a band or an artist that we're developing, right? And that artist, whatever value they incur. So if they, you know, as we do a class, like we basically are going to build that artist, there's going to be reciprocal, like they're going to exist together.
Wow.
From a value.
And that gives so much, that I feel like that just puts so much more in the hands of the owners of the actual material when it comes to the NFTs, but then of course the music as well. I feel like there's so much, it's more than just like I stream your song and I give you a play.
Yeah, think about it like this. You go into a record store and you buy a fungible album, meaning there's a million of those that were printed. Yeah. And that's sick because you're going to listen to this music because you love it, whatever. Sure. But more the difference is you go into the store and you effectively buy a fragment of the entire album in its entirety. And it is basically correlated with ownership with that album indefinitely.
Actually owning that
album. As long as you own a portion of that, if it's fractionalized as one thing, even in the sense of if you're participating in this NFT collection, you still have reciprocated value because of how we're building them to work together.
When that, I guess, artist continues to grow, since you bought the non-fungible token of that album, you technically continue to incur value even past that album.
I mean, theoretically, right? And that's sort of, that's where it gets, really interesting. And that's why, like, what you guys are doing, you know, we need to we need to sit down and maybe get the team together and just see, like, I'd love to chat with you guys about creative stuff in that lane.
It's very exciting. It's gonna change. Yeah, it's gonna change everything. I don't. That's so wild. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so glad we're at the brink of this, the cusp of this. because I like to play around in the unknown, and this is a very unknown topic, it's very fun to discuss.
Sure.
How do you think, and if you don't have an answer for this and you feel like it's going to take too long to think of one, you don't have, well, this may be a question for the future. How do you think that's going to affect the actual creation of the music? So the process for that artist to create music.
That's a big question.
Because that's a really interesting thing for me, and I want to see what that, I would love to see what that does for the artist, you know?
Man, I could go on and on about this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of artists love and hate the reality we're in,
yes,
where accessibility is so high, but there's a cost and a consequence. Like the homogenization of music has become, you know, like a great example is rappers in the 90s. Every rapper had their own unique style, and if you didn't, you literally were going to get punked.
You wouldn't make it.
And
like,
now
if you
it's
sounded like anybody else. They were gonna say you sound like this motherfucker.
Exactly.
He's the only other one that there is. Yeah.
And now the industry wants you on some level. And again, I'm not going to pretend like I know how it all works, but it's very self-evident.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yes. You're definitely right on that.
Yeah. So it's going to change, obviously, but in what ways, I have no clue. Hopefully for the better.
Hopefully for the better, yeah. I mean, with anything, there's sides to it. So like, I can see in the future how there could be an artist that does this that maybe goes about it the wrong way, the audience goes about it the wrong way, and that could create some kind of like unfortunate relationship. But I think those are important to know what we shouldn't do. You know, I think everything is going to come with trial and error, and you know, man, like, music is so personal, and what we make is so personal, even if it's like for the people. So, you know, of course it's going to get nasty, you know, it's going to get messy sometimes. Probably it's a new venture. Like, there's going to be some crazy shit that goes down, you know, it's going to be wild. But honestly, that's like, for me, that's very exciting. And I'm going to definitely explore that question more in my head too, as I start to more deeply understand what that relationship looks like. But that's very exciting.
Does music sound more and more like TikTok now, or is that, I don't know, I'm not on TikTok, so I can't speak like I'm any.
Honestly, I'm barely on TikTok either. Okay. But it is wild to see how that has affected the industry and music. Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know. That's like I also don't listen to like a lot of the same things that people listen to. Recently, I've just been on like
what have you been listening to?
Nothing new is the thing. Like,
me too, bro.
I'm just on one. I have like a small playlist, and I can listen to it over and over.
What's
again.
the playlist?
Because I've been listening
what
to a
kind
lot
of
podcasts
tracks
and stuff. It's the playlist that I made for Project Field, because we had like each member of the team made a playlist.
Okay.
And I added some songs to it because I just have it still. But it's just my favorite songs. It's like a lot. There's a good amount of Lucky Day in there because I've been loving what he's doing.
Wait, who?
Lucky Day. You ever heard of Lucky Day?
No.
Oh my gosh, dude, Lucky Day.
New artist. Okay.
Incredible. Yeah. He just did a song. He's coming out with an album in a few days, but he did a song with Earth, Wind and Fire.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's very.
It's a dope song too. So that was kind of like when I saw that cosign, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm glad people in the industry also know what's up. But he's he has some incredible music. I think there's one or two Stevie Wonder songs in there. There's a lot of what else is there in there? I honestly, there's some weird tracks in there too, like some like anime soundtracks or whatever. But yeah, it's just a collection of like my favorite songs that I've listened to over the past like 2 years.
Okay. It's recent stuff. Yeah. But it could be music from like that's very old.
Yeah, or stuff that I've found recently that I'm like really into that I could just listen to on repeat. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same. Like I'm the type where I get into or a little less hyper focused on one artist now, but like there was a period where I would just like play one song 100 times.
It's sometimes you just that's the vibe, you know. Sometimes you do that forever. But Yanks is starting to make it into the rotation now more often because of what he's releasing and like what I've seen before. Like his older stuff is actually really good too.
He's got so I listened to the podcast you guys did.
Nice.
And I hit him up afterwards because I was like, bro, we lived on the Olympic Peninsula at the same time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because said he lived in Washington State. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I used to go up there for the summers, and I lived there for a period as a kid. And I was like,
you guys are both like West Coast.
Drinking the same water up there.
That's nuts, man. I love those kinds of moments, man. Yeah. So we have a little bit more time. Before we get into the questions for Patreon, because we have Patreon, patrons can ask questions on our Patreon if you are a tiered subscriber. Talk to me about right now what you're doing with like your personal music, because you're working on stuff, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the personal music is also like we're looking at, so me and Alex, my bandmate, we kind of slowed down when I moved here, because obviously I took on Safe and Sounds and then integrated Rec Room, and it was just like, it was like music is not happening right now. And then like client work was like all my creative energy. But so now that we're getting back in a good flow where I'm like able to put in, an hour a day at least on some forward momentum, we're working on an album. I'm conceptualizing how we want to release it. So, the term, like one of the tracks that we're going to release, which will be cool, is I want to launch that within this sort of as a Web3 experience as well. Nice. And so do you know the term rhythm?
Rhythm, no.
Okay. So I grew up hardcore into reggae music.
Nice.
I was actually listening to Bob like all morning this morning.
It's rhythm. Oh, like, okay.
So rhythm is this idea that there's not a like, how like you'll have a track and then someone will remix like 4 versions of it, but you still have the original. A rhythm is more built around an instrumental, and then all these different artists will come and spit over it, kind of like a mixtape sort of thing.
Kind of change it up, I guess.
Yeah, and so I've been playing around with that idea and collaborating with a friend who also is a big reggae musician. Nice. And so we're talking about dropping rhythm-like track where there's no primary original. They're just 4 different versions of the one song, and then we want to like launch that in like a Web3 space, so we have all these different versions that exist, so they're essentially like a NFT of each one. And so like sick, I want to kind of like jump back in with Honor Scouts in that way, where we're like testing out these new like innovative ways to release music.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Yes. That's really cool. And that's I don't even know, it's hard to imagine even what that looks like, but when you talk about the music, it's like that's interesting. I feel like I know that. I mean, I know that concept, like I feel like that happens, but I didn't know there was like a word like rhythm.
And we're kind of loosely using it's in a rhythm. It would be like a bunch of different artists over an instrumental generally,
like over like one song, or like multiple songs usually.
No, one song, but it would be like the instrumental would be more or less the same. You might have like a like a Lee Scratch Perry version, or like a Scientist version, which are like dub artists or dub producers.
Oh, but they're different tracks though.
Yeah, they're like they're effectively like remixes. So like one version's gonna be like a pop version where there's vocals. There might be another one where there's no vocals. Yeah.
But there's the idea is there's no original track.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We might market one and depending upon the platform, but just like removing the idea of the remix and more of like, which one do you think is the original? Like, it's up to you. Which one do you like
really
the
cool.
most? Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. I think that has a special, I feel like that has a special relationship with NFTs. Like, it sounds like there's something there that could be like the thing that ties the two together.
Yes.
To make it that, like, this makes sense when you think about the way a rhythm works, and like the fact that there's no original track, but there's like different versions of that. It sounds like similar to what an NFT can be, or what it. It's just like reimagining a release in a way that we think is cool. That's
trying
really
it out.
That's really dope. Nice. Well, that's exciting to see. I'm very excited to see that. I'm assuming there's no like time frame right now. You're just working because you said
oh man, I would love to have it out in April, but when you have
see what happens,
4 different artists and their team all working on it, it doesn't always happen as quick as I would like.
That's true. Collaboration is hard, but it's worth it, I think. So that's cool. Great. That's great to hear. So now we're at that time in the podcast where we're going to go into some Patreon questions. So if you're watching for the first time, or this is your first time listening to an episode, whether you're on YouTube or on Spotify in the future, as a patron, if you subscribe to our Project Feel Patreon, you get early access to every episode. So 2 weeks early before the release, you'll see or hear the episode. And then you also get the benefit of, depending on the tier, you get the benefit of asking the artist the questions. So you see who we're interviewing, and under that post, you'll be able to ask any questions that you might have. So that's the portion we're going to get into now. So first question I have here is, how would you describe this new record that you're working on? Well, we kind of already went into that, but like compared to your previous music, I guess, how would you describe what you're getting into now, besides like the whole like NFT thing?
Sure,
like,
the music
more
itself.
about the music, yeah.
Yeah, so the stuff that we've been working on is, I mean, generally we're pretty genre diverse, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say the main chord is that there's like strong songwriting in a classical sense.
For
like
sure.
we're really inspired that way. Mm-hmm. So like the music feels a little, yeah, I would just say it's definitely a very exciting chapter musically, because I feel like the first album we put out really was just like putting an album out and seeing what that experience was like, and now being like, okay, like now we can just more like write some songs that we're really excited about and put them together. It's like Magical Realism really was like a concept album. Like there's a character that's having a journey.
Nice. Okay.
You know, we map that out very much in our process. And this is more just like, hey, we're just like, if we write 100 songs, which is not out of the ordinary, what are like the 10 that we like the most? And like, let's drop the concept and just work on those.
The most enjoyable songs, right?
Yeah.
That's a great, I think there's a really important dynamic there, or when it comes to like making music, because man, concept albums are exhausting, dude. You got to spend so much. It's like writing a movie or any kind of like story. It's like, geez, it's like a lot of intention, but it's really important to just kind of like let loose of that sometimes and just do the thing. So that's great. What made you most interested to venture into the Web3 NFT realm? Like, what was the thing that caught your eye?
So, honestly, I basically got into crypto probably like 2017 early, and then invested money, lost a bunch of money.
Talked about this,
and that was the whole thing. And so honestly, like really, things started picking up last year. And when I sort of forgot about it, I knew that it was a thing, but I was like, the technology's not there yet. And so when things started, when it became self-evident,
the culture started to like make it more.
People were talking about it again, and it seemed like there was some real infrastructure being built and exciting things happening
and
in the space.
People being involved, and
I was like, okay, time to just dive in head first.
Nice.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited to also do the same, because it's been super interesting having this conversation. What did your very first studio setup? What did it look like?
Yeah, so first studio setup, okay, like there's two answers to this.
Okay.
Because I started as like a poet, rapper, songwriter.
Word more
So before I produced, I would just do that, and I had a buddy who like shredded on the guitar. Nice. He played upside down like Jimi Hendrix.
Yo, the left-handed thing. Oh my gosh,
and so he was just super awkward, but he'd play like, you know, like Kill 'Em All, like Seek and Destroy Metallica stuff. So like sick. That was all this like Pantera and I don't know, a lot of that kind of music. And so, but we both listened, like I wanted to do more of the reggae hip hop thing, and so he would produce beats for me. And so when I was 17, I actually lived on my own, and he lived with me for like a 6-month period. And so technically that would be like our first setup if I really think about it.
That makes sense.
And it was just a MacBook and like a super ghetto, like USB microphone recording on GarageBand, like GarageBand loops, like the whole thing.
Classic right there.
Yeah.
Loops are insane.
Cause I didn't produce, I didn't know, I didn't even play an instrument at that point in time.
Dude, USB mics are hilarious, man.
Yeah.
You know, Franco's first album, the one he has out, was all on a USB mic. It's actually kind of impressive, but like it's just so funny to like see them and use them. It's like, how does anybody make anything on this? Okay. Next question. What was the biggest lesson you learned when like while you're monetizing your creative output? It's a little.
Ooh, yeah. So musically specific or just in general, like creativity?
I would say music probably specific, but just knowing the person who's asking is like,
yeah. I don't know if there's an easy answer. I guess I'll just say like what's worked for me. Yeah. I have just focused really like sort of head down with my process. So like when I dropped I've Got the Gold with Adam Knight, that was the first, because that was our second release ever. It was 2017. Okay. And the first one, I just was like, I was going to school for music business and I was like, not really learning a lot, to be honest. I was like, they're teaching me about like going to Staples and like, or not Staples, like Best Buy, and like telling them that this is what you need to do in order for them to distribute your CD. And then the likeliness of them doing that is like, 1% or whatever. And meanwhile, artists are writing songs on SoundCloud and getting millions of plays. And there's not one portion of that in this school talking about digital marketing in that way that's like super bootstrap, which is how a lot of these artists are figuring it out, these young kids. And
they're just telling you like, hey, go sell your CDs on the street, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's music business history, which is like, that's helpful, I guess, but it's good to know. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure I learned probably more from that than I give credit. But
for sure.
Anywho, what I did realize is that I was spending an ungodly amount of time producing music. And I knew that if I didn't figure out how to make money doing it, then it was going to be a problem. And so I just did anything and everything I could think of. And this kind of goes to an important point. It's a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's worth it.
Go for it.
So, you know, like I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and it's like being willing to is that... Oh, it's the washer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a car rolling through the...
Yeah.
Go for it.
You have to be willing to explore.
Yeah.
You know, like try things out. Don't get too fixated on one way to do things. Because like when we first... Like that first track I dropped, I was able, like I pitched it to Austin Kramer, and at that point you could directly contact him. Yeah. And so we like got on a dance playlist, the first song we ever released.
Like, okay.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, like this is amazing. Obviously that whole thing didn't last very long. Okay. But then the next one, it was all SoundCloud marketing, right? It was like reposts. It was just going deep into SoundCloud and learning about the ecosystem and how artists grow on that platform. And then after that, later on, it became, ads on Facebook and Instagram. And now like,
it's the big thing, I guess.
Yeah. The effectiveness of that now compared to 2 years ago when I was doing it, completely different. And so my point with that is just obviously first and foremost, if you know you've made something that's really good and you believe in it, like you have that certainty inside of you, then you have to convince everyone else that it's good, you know? And there's a lot of ways to do that. Yes. And I'm not going to pretend like I have there's
not one way.
Exactly.
It's not like, oh, monetizing creative output, do this and you're going to make a lot of money. That's not how it works at all.
Yeah. And again, I don't think I'm not saying like be loud. Like some people are so confident and they're like, I'm the shit and like all this. I'm obviously not that person, never been that. Yeah. But if you do feel really strongly about your work and you know that it's like adding value to the overall ecosystem of music, then
that's important. Yeah.
Then be confident and take some risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. That's probably the best advice you could give in that for that question, to be honest. Okay. Next question is, so we talked briefly in your bio about this guy's spitting right now.
Bro, I can stop that. Should I?
At this point, we're living with it. I don't know.
This is the perks of having an.
Is it like? Is it upstairs?
No, it's in my house. It's right there. That's why.
What's right there?
So there's this door right here. That's Jay. That's the sound engineer. It's a good time to. Yeah, I would say just like do your thing for now, and then we'll come back to it. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Cut. Like it never happened, right? Never happened. We're back. Magic.
Sweet. So that was actually great timing that he walked in. I'm glad. Okay, so we talked a little bit about, or in your bio introducing you, we talked a little bit about your abroad experience, or being abroad experience. What, I guess, there's a lot of detail there from what I remember, there's like a lot of history. But what inspired you to first like leave to actually go abroad, like across the world kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, first, is this pertaining to music or just like the impetus to travel?
Just literally the when did it first hit you that like, oh, I want to go somewhere else? Like what inspired you to do that?
So I grew up working music festivals, and a lot of the people at those music festivals would like talk about how they just got back from Guatemala and, you know, did some medicine ceremony in Chiapas or whatever, you know, things like that. Yeah. So like I'm a kid growing up just like seeing all these world travelers, right? And people with accents. And I grew up, none of my family left the US. Yeah. Like it was like very sheltered. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same. And so I remember there was a point where I was like, I really just need to experience a different way of life because just to, I don't know. It just, there was a point, I can't say there was like maybe like a crispy revelation where it just was like, I'm going to do this. Sometimes that happens in my life, but this was more just like, it felt like something I had to do.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I feel like I felt the same way about coming to New York. I was like, I've always wanted to be somewhere. Like at first in high school, me and Franco, we actually made like a tip jar kind of vibe where every day we were putting like money into it, and it was like a California thing. So it was like this is our money that we're saving to go to California. And it was more symbolic than anything because we didn't raise anything. But we thought like right out of high school, since we were acting, we were like, we're gonna go. There's a community college that we can actually attend because we want to go to college there. There's an apartment complex. We found like everything pretty much. So we need a car. We're going to drive over there.
So you and Franco moved here together?
We were going to move to California together. But then here we did like this tour in Long Island that was like high schools and middle schools. And it was like an anti-bullying play or something like that. So we did that together. It was me, Franco, and Joe, who's our other roommate. And we did that in Long Island for a while, coming to the city in and out. And we loved it. We were like, I could live here. And everybody, we were all three. We're like, yeah, totally. But me and Franco went back to Florida. And then Joe stayed. And Joe stayed the whole time.
In Long Island?
Yeah, in Long Island. And then he eventually got to Brooklyn. After a while, it was hard. But he got there. He got an apartment. And then Franco was like, okay, I'm just going to literally quit everything that I'm doing right now, and I'm just gonna move up there too. And I was like, geez, okay, cool. So I guess I'm gonna start making plans now. And then eventually, like, I had like maybe $2,000 to my name, and I was like, yeah, I'm going too. And then eventually I had my own little place, and then when their roommates moved out, I moved in with them. And so that was like the developing of that. But it was similar. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I definitely want to be here. It was like a circumstance where we did plays for somebody else, and then they were like, hey, there's this thing going on Long Island. They need people desperately because they're going on soon. Will you guys down to audition? We did. They were like, hey, you can come. We've room and board, or a board and like food. We're feeding you and stuff. And you just have to do this, and that. We're like, we're really going to drop everything for this? Like, why would we even, like, we have decent jobs. Like, it was like, no, there's no reason to not do it. So we did it. And it was like, it wasn't just that moment though. It wasn't like, oh, now we're living here. It was like progressively, like you have to learn that you want to do these things. And like when you do them for the first time, that's when you really start to understand if you actually want to do it or not. Like if you want to be home or if you want to like go somewhere else and change your life completely. And I think from then it was like, okay, yeah, that just makes sense now.
Yeah. Wait, so now I'm kind of curious. I don't know.
Of course. That's fine. We had time. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had that experience in Long Island, and then how long was the distance between that and you eventually moving here? Man,
it was probably, was it a year? I think it was about a year.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a good amount of time.
Yeah, that's not that long though. I was thinking it was a bigger. So
no.
Yeah.
It was like because we came back and it was like bittersweet, and we were like, man, I would love to be out here, but we knew we didn't have the resources necessary to do that. We were broke at the time because we didn't have a job technically. They were just paying for food and stuff, but we were going back to go work jobs again to make money back, and then continue doing what we were doing. It was be artists or whatever. And there was like, I was doing musicals back then, still doing plays and stuff. So I was like, let me go back a little while longer. Like I can't just go,
That makes me think I have to go back to Mexico, because my first trip was Mexico.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to live here. And then when it came to like my money, my resources depleted, I was like, there's no way I'm going to work for peso.
Yeah. I mean, but that's also very different. It's different. Like, the dollars, they translate easily here. But
well, my thought process was, man, I could get a job easy, like working at, because I was in like the hip area. I could have been a waiter or whatever.
Oh, nice,
but yeah, like I was like, oh, I'll just like save up a bunch of money again and go back. But like I ended up not going back and just going to other places.
That's usually how it happens. People get caught up on that part. It's like, oh, I need to save a ton of money so I can go out there and be comfortable. It's like, don't even like save enough money that you feel like you can make it and then be uncomfortable, because that's the best way to do it, because you're never going to be comfortable. You think that $10,000 saved up going to New York is going to make you feel comfortable. It's not. It's not at all.
Definitely.
It's much more difficult than just like having money. And it'd be nice to have that much money, of course. It'd be really cool. But if that's going to prevent you forever from coming, just do it.
I completely agree.
Especially if you have friends over there. And if you don't, then make some friends, I guess.
You have to be okay with like, I mean, there's a certain time in your life, especially where being scrappy is good. Mm-hmm. Like sleeping on a couch for 3 months. Yeah. Isn't the worst thing in the world, especially when you're 40. You get to have that story, which is pretty dope, honestly.
Sure. That's awesome. All right, we already kind of talked about this, but I guess if there's anything else we missed with this question, let me go ahead and say it. But what are some of the most exciting applications for musicians that you see within Web3? I mean, we had that conversation, but like if there's anything else. Yeah,
I think I'll just say it's like, it's too early to have any definitive around any of that stuff. What is exciting is that the space is going to be created by the people like right now that are building it. And so I just, as a fellow artist, implore all artists to just explore the space and learn as much as they can about it, because the more people that are in it, the more interesting it's going to be.
That's very important. Yes. Cool. Next question. This one is, I guess it's a little broad, but I think you might have something on this. Have you encountered any barriers while like running this studio and like starting this place? And how is it that you like push past them? I'm sure there's a ton, but I
mean, it's barriers. It's barriers, and also like it's like, what's a good analogy? This is not going to be any sort of clear answer, but I'll just use an analogy.
Yeah, please.
It's like you run into barriers and then you just find the river and the canoe and you just get on the damn thing. Because like there are plenty of, okay, do I scale this castle wall or do I like go around? And like it's a constant. There are plenty of things that, I'm trying to figure out right now. There are things that have been worked out. And I think with anything, it's just, really at the end of the day, solving problems is about solving problems, and it's really just a scale issue. At what level do you want to do that? Do you want to solve how do I make rent every month, or do I want to solve how to like clean a water system, like whatever it is,
Oh, so many things.
It's
like you played D&D before?
It's funny, I have made probably 10 D&D characters, but I've never played.
What?
Because that's the funnest part for me, is the character creation part.
So
I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh my gosh, that's great. But I was gonna say it's like playing D&D, because and I've had very small experiences with it, but you make decisions within it, but the master, the person who's running the game, is always going to have a problem on the other end of that decision. Like it's like you said, scaling the castle wall, going around. You go around, you're going to encounter a waterfall, and you're going to go on a completely different journey. You go up, you're going to, at the top of the wall, you're going to see a bunch of skeletons with swords and they're going to attack you. Like it's not really like, oh, if you see this fork in the road, you do this instead of doing that, because there is almost no time. There are very few problems that have those easy solutions.
Binary,
because the person that you're asking made one decision and they see the outcome of that, but they don't know what the outcome of that other decision could have been. Mm-hmm. So that's why you need multiple sources. But it's like there's so many things that in your day to day that you would encounter that are so unexpected. But they're things that happen every single day. So.
I love that analogy. Maybe I should play. We thought about with this collection, one of the early utilities for the NFT collection was having the characters be D&D characters that would be hosted on Discord.
Wait.
I mean, if you're into that,
I have a friend. His name is Glooms Garcia, Brandon Jimenez. I don't know if you met him yet. But he loves D&D. He tried to start a campaign with us, and we just couldn't find the time to do it. But he's definitely
I should connect him.
For
so I have a little brother who's like crazy into like he's really good. Like he's plays League of Legends and is like high ranking for like his character and things like that.
So he knows about his thing.
Yeah, maybe we can connect him or something.
That'd be awesome because that is actually an incredible idea. I don't know if the people who do D&D now are even thinking about that, but we need to get on that. Anyway, I'm looking at you, Brandon. Okay, and the last question for today. What are the top 3 things? I'm sure there aren't 3, but there's probably so many more than that. What is the top 3 things a person needs to know if they wanted to start their own studio space?
Don't.
Okay. Number 1, don't. Number 2,
like
don't.
No, I'm joking, but start your own studio space. Look, I don't know if it's realistic, like the recorded industry, the recorded music industry, like studios and stuff like that it's completely different, right? Because like you're recording with your homies and they're like, you guys are doing amazing stuff out of that space. And like when I was recording stuff, it was in a super non-functional space, and yet it was functional because we wrote songs that the market perceived as they liked it. So I think with studios in general, it's like, focus on less about the studio and more about the people that are in the studio. Because that's what's more important. If you have a producer, or let's say 2 or 3 producers that are incredibly devoted and talented, and then it could be a hole in the wall. People are going to want to work with those producers.
Your space will have a value that other spaces don't. Because it's less about the equipment nowadays, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, sure, we can rent out a studio and make money doing that, but like, that's not why I'm in it either. Like, I'm more interested in the creative process. So
that's beautiful. I love that, and I think that speaks in volumes, because you do have an incredible studio downstairs, and I feel like people who don't have those spaces readily available, they kind of see these spaces and they're like, oh my God, I just need to be in here all the time, and this is going to solve all of my creative problems, and everything in here is going to be fixed. I just have to spend this much money and we're good, right?
Wrong.
Not the case. Like, the reason why people come to like Franco's studio in his home is because they want to work with Franco, not because they want his studio equipment, because it's negligible compared to what you have here. The reason why people want to come here in your studio is because either you're going to be here, or you have somebody in your list of talents that are going to be here and that will give them something special or something different. And on top of all the other things that you're doing as well with like Rec Room and stuff like that, it's more about what's happening in that space as opposed to the space itself.
Yes.
And I've learned that with being in my apartment too, like in that little dinky room.
Because you run into a lot more like added complexity, right? It's very, even with software, like when you start out, it's like you want to buy all these different tools.
The plugins, like these are all the best plugins.
This is going to make me the producer that I want to be.
Let me add the drip thing, and it's going to be a sick track. Like, that's it, right?
Yeah. And then eventually, when you're in it long enough, you realize that the biggest issue that you face is an internal one. Yeah. You know, and it's a lot harder, but it's a lot more rewarding.
It's more about what from the inside out, more so than what's outside coming into you. It's like, it's very different.
Yeah, for the most part.
For the most part. Yeah. There's certain
Gotta have that RX to get rid of the noise.
There's certain things, man. There's certain equipment that I've seen, or things that I've like recently just like experiencing some denoiser software that I didn't know existed. But man, there's some things out there. So there's some things that money could buy, is what I'll say. But yeah, those are all the questions. And thank you so much again, Justin, for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really do appreciate you being on the show. And I can't wait for our future collaborations and everything that we do in the out there. And thank you to the viewers here. I guess.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, I guess send us off with something that we should be looking out for that you're working on, or that you want us to be a part of, or places we can reach you. And then your Instagram's already on the screen. And then I guess if you have any kind of like words of wisdom to leave us off with, too, things you're feeling.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess maybe just great place to start is to follow Safe and Sound Studios at Instagram and check out recroom.xyz. We're going to launch that website in the next couple weeks, maybe out by, actually, I think our MVP will be up by the time this airs.
Nice.
So
Exciting. Okay,
recroom.xyz, and there you'll see sort of how the projects integrate. Yeah. So that's the main, I would say, follow that, look at that, and that'll give you all the different things.
For sure.
As far as advice, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's great. Perfect. Do you guys? Great. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. And this has
pleasure,
been
man.
Justin Bjur.
Thanks, Eddie.
Cool.